Hi, my name's Ian. Welcome back to my channel, and this is the second unboxing, or not strictly true, but whatever, in the in the Deepnight Revelation materials from Mongoose's Kickstarter. So, in the previous video we had a look at all of the extras, goodies, patches, dice, whatever, and this is the core set now. So I've already had it out and read it a bit. It came a few days ago, so it's not strictly an unboxing, but yeah, for the interest in for the state of continuity, we'll go through the rest. Now there is 6 further volumes in the whole of the Deepnight Revelation Kickstarter, so those 6 volumes have yet to arrive, but this morning there's a message on the Kickstarter saying that they should be within the next week or so to go through, which is still ahead of the time that we were given a 2-week window, and this is already a week or so ahead of that. And if you're watching from the States then and you're waiting on this, then it looks like you've got to wait for a bit of a customs fiasco to go through before you can get your hands on it. So for a start, let's discuss what this is. So a while back, Mongoose produced a box set that described a bunch of sectors in and around the Great Rift area of the Traveller universe, the known charted space, and some description rules and whatever for populating blank areas on the map, or areas that are generally unpopulated by main worlds and off the beaten track, and dealing with space anomalies and stuff like that. As part of that set, that Kickstarter, as well as the box set, alongside the box set, they released a number of adventures dealing with materials that were within the Great Rift box set, and this was one of them, Deepnight Endeavour. So I'm not going to give too many spoilers just in case, but basically, in overview, Deepnight Endeavour involves the player characters coming into contact with a deep space exploration ship that has been stranded, and the crew have broken up into factions, and all the sorts of stuff are happening. But it introduces this strange entity that is at the crux of what's happening to the ship. Now, this adventure, although it's not, I suppose it's like a prequel to it. You don't have to play this adventure or have anything to do with it in order to understand and play through this campaign set, but it does help, and it sort of kind of introduces the core concepts of what's going on, both of the Deepnight organisation, the deep space exploration guys, and also the entity involved that is the key of this. So this was a sort of taster of things to come, and this then sort of delves into the actual campaign. Hello, cat. You come to watch this as well. So it's quite an extensive campaign. The travellers themselves take positions on the crew of a large converted military warship that's been converted into a deep space exploration vessel, and the crux of it, the key theme behind it, is going out into the completely unknown regions, away from anything that's been charted or documented in the Traveller universe before, off any of the maps that we know about, travelling down the edge of the Great Rift into, very much leaping out into the unknown, trying to follow up on clues that the Deepnight organisation has picked up, you know, partially connected with this, and off they go. And the set here contains a bunch of books and a map. Like I said, I've already started delving into it, so we will go through. That ribbon doesn't actually lift up. Well, what was it? Oh, I see what I've done. I see what I've done. Right. So the referee's handbook, which I'm partially through reading, gives you the basic rules of how to do this campaign. The campaign is very involved. The characters are either part of the larger crew, or they form the command staff of the larger crew, or wherever they really want to go. So trying to play through that, where you're used to sort of adventure class ships, traders and whatnot, where the entire crew is pretty much the player characters. In this, there are quite a few additional non-player characters that will be involved in the expedition and in crewing the ship. And for a large part of the campaign, and this is heading out on a ship into the unknown, those are the characters that the players will interact with most. So in here there are all sorts of procedures for being able to manage the crew of that size, being able to manage the ship as it heads off into deep space, and the resources that are available on the ship, and you know, food and fuel, as well as the various vehicles that the ship carries. It carries some ground vehicles, and it carries some small craft as well, pinnaces and whatnot. So the referee's handbook deals with rules for doing that, abstracting down large-scale crew operations. It actually scales them down into several compartments. So you've got where we got. Yeah. So the voyage here bit. The voyage is the whole campaign as we go through from leaving known space to ending up where they end up. Then they have a reach, which is pretty much a leg of the journey as they go through. A mission is a specific thing that they're going for. A mission segment is part of that. And then an adventure is something where the players get involved in on a personal level, and actually more or less is a traditional type adventure, even though it's not in a traditional type of setting. So that the rules for that are in there, as well as you know, how to set up encounters, and some more about worlds and running the actual the voyage of the thing, and setting up things for the characters to actually do the day-to-day stuff. The campaign guide is more or less about the actual voyage itself, and a description of the crew and the ship itself. So we've got, you know, the information on the Deepnight Revelation and floor plans and so on. We've got a description of the vehicles that it carries. We've got some information on crew, some in there, the equipment, yeah, so bits of crew, and how the crew may break up into factions and what they do, and then a bit of how the characters should go about planning their route through space, and how to guide them through that, and to make it a bit interesting instead of just going from star to star and fishing around. So the campaign guide really gives you the framework. So the referee's handbook gives you some guidance on how to run it. The campaign guide gives you the framework in which to build the adventure up. Oh, those cards belong to the goodies set. So you get a map of the Deepnight Endeavour, and that's Deepnight Revelation, sorry, and that's fairly interesting. On the back of this is a map of the sectors. I won't show it to you because, you know, spoilers, go and buy it yourself. But the map itself is, I don't know, it's a poster map, but it's largely empty. It's largely just of empty sectors. It shows you the framework for it, but I'm not sure it warranted a poster map. But then again, you know, I'm not sure what else they would have put on the back of that poster. So I'd rather have something on the back of it, and it's not like it's not useful. It gives you a nice sort of plan of things, but it is largely just a grid of sectors with not much in it at all. It does give you a sense of the scale of what they're taking apart. So, you know, just to sort of briefly things, if you've got the known space or the Imperium up here, then the actual area that the campaign covers is like this. So, you know, it's a fair old chunk of stuff. And then, capping it all off, you have, see, that's what I did wrong with the ribbon. Ooh. There we go, that's better. You have two set piece adventures. One is the start, which is Deepnight Legacy, and one is the end. I won't delve into them, but the basis of them is this is what happens at the start when they start off and head out into the unknown, and this is what happens when they finally reach the point of which they're going for, the target point. Now, all in all, the voyage is there's a huge distance that they're covering, and a lot that they can end up doing and running into. So if you've got some niche little bits and pieces that you've been working on as a traveller referee that you want to try and find a little space for, then they all manner of things can be slotted in. Like I said with the map, you know, there's a massive area of space for them, for you to be able to put virtually anything that you want to. Obviously not in imperial terms. I don't think many of the classic adventures would fit so much, especially those that sort of build up towards what then eventually became the timeline of Mega Traveller. But certainly some of the more esoteric of the classic modules produced by people like Paranoia and Farsa could well be slotted in as further adventures to fill up the space. You know, I think that the trick is giving a good balance between the operations and keeping the Deepnight Revelation vessel going throughout the mission, coupled with some more, you know, broken up with more interesting scenarios, adventures and whatnot. But I think too many adventures and you're going to detract from what they're actually trying to achieve, detract from the main mission. So I think adventures should be thrown in. Now, in the last video I said it was a bit sort of Star Trek-y, and this is sort of where it comes in. So if you imagine Voyager, where a lot of the adventures, or a lot of the episodes of Voyager came about because the Voyager itself needed resources of one kind or another, and in seeking out those resources, it brought the crew into contact with some situation that they then had to deal with. And I can see that happening with the adventures. So if the Deepnight Endeavour is running out of resources of one kind, the characters can go after and try and find what they can do in order to alleviate that resource deficit, which may bring them into contact with an adventure that, you know, the rewards of the adventure include the retrieval of the resources they need. So I'm quite excited from that point of view, because there's a backlog of adventures from magazines and from all over the place that I think they could slot in quite nicely. But the danger, like I said, the danger is swamping the end point, the purpose of the whole thing in adventures that don't really have much to do with it. So there's got to be a balance there, and that's something that I'll be figuring out and exploring as I read through all of these bits and pieces that came with the set. So I'm currently reading through the referee's handbook. I'm not sure what the best order is. I think the referee's handbook is the best one to start with. Then the campaign guide. I've sort of been reading those two together. I've had a flick through the adventures and when the PDFs when they originally came through. I'm not one that can read PDFs very well because it's I spend enough time looking at screens as it is in my professional life and so on. So if I'm going to read something, I prefer physical book to read. So I've skimmed the materials in the PDF releases. Really been waiting for the hard copies to come, and that's exactly what's happened now. And I've really started to dig into this. I've been excited for that. I was excited for the Great Rift set, and I kind of explained in the last video this. Because my preferred area of space is obviously it's not as densely populated as somewhere like the Spinwood Marches, and I enjoy that idea of the rifts being this obstacle, and then the Great Rift box set then sort of opens that up to an obstacle that can be interesting in of itself instead of just a wall that has to be navigated. And then with this continuing on from that, then really does open out to the rift being quite an interesting thing. Although there is some delving around in the rift in the campaign. Most of it is actually, I suppose it'd be like more like a traditional survey mission, but the surveys that the characters will be doing, or the crew of the ship will be doing, depends where the positions the characters take, but the crew of the ship will be doing is surveying worlds ahead in order to be able to plot the best route that will give them fuel and so on, rather than surveying as part of, we're going to survey these worlds and report back to something like the ISS. The ISS, not the International Space Station, has really... The Imperial Scout Service, there you go. Let's not trip over abbreviations. So surveying with menaces, really. So I'm really excited to delve into all of this and give it a fly and see where we get to with it. I'm not particularly a Star Trek fan, and I think this is different enough from Star Trek. Traveller is nowhere near Star Trek, but when I first came across it, I was like, oh no, that looks like Voyager and stuff. But it's like Voyager going in the other way. And although some of the ideas from Voyager can give you a framework of this, how this might work, or how this might work in a more game session episodic form, I don't think it is. It's not the usual. It doesn't give you anything like the moralistic side of Star Trek, or the quite the same dense populations of everything, and there's certainly nothing like the Borg constantly on their tails or anything like that. So yeah, this is the core set for Deepnight Endeavour. Like I said, that's what I'm currently reading through at the moment. Those cards, if you get the box set, they won't come with it, but I'm storing them in there because they're more relevant in here than in a separate box. And yeah, there's 6 books. There's 6 books to come. We'll deal with them when they come. Apparently they're going to be sent out 3 at a time, so I might wait until all 6 are here. I don't think that will be a hugely long video, because those 6 books are adventure materials to fill in some of the gaps in between the start and finish. We've got the start and finish in this box set, and guidance of how to run it and the 6 adventures give you stopping points along the way. By no means enough material to actually take you all the way from the start to the finish, which I think is great, because that gives me a massive scope to be able to play around and do things, create things. It's one of the things I love about role-playing games is the ability to actually create things rather than just consume. It's a very artistic form of game. Not Traveller, I mean the role-playing games in general. They are creative, very creative form of gaming. You're not confined to a board. You're not stuck to following narratives, except in some fairly recent publications for some fairly recent versions of some games where you very much are dictated to and led by the hand. But to me, that's not what role-playing is about. The role-playing games themselves are a medium through which you can unleash your own creativity within a reasonably structured framework. And this is giving a nice way of that. It's enough of a framework to get you interested and to spark your imagination, and then enough gaps in there to be able to stretch your imagination to fill in the holes. So yeah, that's the Deepnight Revelation campaign set, which is a sequel in a way to the Deepnight Endeavour Great Rift Adventure, which is been released by Mongoose for their edition of the Traveller game, which I'm actually, with the way that Mongoose are supporting it, I mean, in the main series of talking about editions of role-playing games as they come through, we will get to Mongoose Traveller, but I'd just like to give them a good shout out for what they're doing with it. It's just, I think Traveller is one of those games that's really important to the development of role-playing games in general. A lot of the things that it introduced, and certainly from a STEM point of view, the technicalities that Traveller goes into, like it doesn't give you any kind of fantasy or glossing over too much in the way of astrophysics and engineering and all this kind of thing. And obviously, it's not a game. It's not a simulation of true astrophysics and true engineering and so on. But a lot of the systems simulate that and do go some way. Mongoose have made it accessible again and are keeping that flame alive. And I think, getting young people involved in a game like Traveller, where STEM subjects are really key to the world we live in, and it's a bit worrying when not enough. Well, when you hear that not enough young people are actually getting involved in STEM, then I think Traveller is certainly a game that could inspire them in that direction and just pique their interest and so on. In those science and engineering subjects. So I think Mongoose are doing a fantastic job. I think other editions of Traveller I think probably Traveller in the New Era is better at doing that simulation of engineering and so on. But maybe from the first off the bat, that's not really what a young person needs. I think if you throw the Traveller in the New Era's version of Fire, Fusion and Steel at them straight off the bat, then they'd probably just go, screw this, it's too hard. But certainly, from a role-playing point of view, I think role-playing games do teach you a lot. They certainly teach language. They are a reading medium. They are a social medium. They are a creative medium. And with Traveller, you get that STEM medium in there too. So if you are of a mind, then please encourage kids to go and pick up these games and tinker with them. Not just play through adventures, and certainly with Traveller. Try and inspire them to create their own mini universes and get into what all the stellar classifications mean and how orbits work and all the maths that's involved in the starships flying between planets and taking gravitational sides of things. And yeah, anyway, I'm rambling now, so we'll draw this to a close. Next unboxing, well, it depends on what comes. Maybe the second wave of the BattleTech Clan Invasion set, or it may be the 6 books that fill in some of the Deepnight Revelation gaps. But this is Traveller as a game and Deepnight Revelation as a campaign to get your teeth into with it, especially if you've got any kind of long history or long dusty library of Traveller materials from different editions that you could slot into the big gaps that are left by that. Then yeah, just go for it. It's yeah, there you go. I'm excited for it, and I've gone on far too long. Until next time.